This is a little bit of downtown Quitman, Georgia, where I was brought up as a child. That's the old jailhouse. Most of these businesses, even back in the day, was owned by whites, and that's the courthouse. Always looked like a big building. We went there for expecting justice, and I don't hear too many negative things about Quitman, but it is what it is. And this is kvci.blogspot.com, doing what we do. That's keeping you informed. And by the way, just like most all southern towns, you can expect some type of soldier out facing toward the south, representing the Confederacy. And that's just the way it is. There are much of the southern black heritage that has been lost over the years because it seems like because we don't own newspapers and television stations and radio stations that we cannot seem to get a lot of our news published. A lot of news in our community seems to go wasted or forgotten among the archival records, and we can't blame nobody but ourselves. Once again, this is downtown Quitman, and Quitman used to have very strong banks, but over the years, I guess like anything else, it brings about a change. However, Quitman, as far as it being the lookings of it in terms of bringing it up looking modern, hey, you can't beat it on that. We know that when they closed the pajama plants and a lot of places in the community, what happened was a lot of the jobs, wherein mostly female, were doing pretty good. But they took those jobs and they moved them overseas to China and other places. And it really hurt the economy over here. And we saw wherein poor people was moving up. Then they became stalemated and went down further into decline. And this is not just something that affects black people. It affects black and white people. You can tell even the streets are not maintained like they was in the olden days. But it's like everything else, and I'll continue to say it. There's one thing we cannot stop, and we can't stop time. And change is what it is. Sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. And this is kvci.blogspot.com. George Boston Rhyme, just keeping you informed. To all the people up in New York and people who are in the armed forces from this particular area here in South Georgia, we want you to understand that I am doing what I'm doing because I've found out that there's so much news that go unreported. And so I said to myself, I don't want us to be ignored and our children to come up and not know nothing about what took place down here in South Georgia that blacks had a part in. When the Honorable Tyrone Brooks came and stood over there at that marker right over there, and we had a protest march right up there, and for the most part, very little was said about it. So I say it's time for me to cover Quitman in the rural areas so we will know what's going on in our community. This is kvci.blogspot.com. Bye-bye, we go.